I've talked about stealth and surprise in a recent DnDaily vlog, and I realized for today's vlog I wanted to talk about something that goes hand in hand with both stealth and surprise, and that is cover and the use of cover. And I want to give us an understanding of what is cover in 5e D&D and how does it work and how can we think of it so we have a very clear understanding of what it actually means. So, cover in 5e is actually fairly easy to understand, and it has some really great benefits to anyone that is trying to use stealth, and also anyone that is maybe one of the squishier classes, or someone who feels like they could use a boost to their armor class. Let me explain about that. With cover, we have three different kinds of cover. There's three different levels of cover. Half cover, 3/4 cover, and full cover or total cover. In half cover, what we get as a benefit is +2 to our armor class and advantage on dexterity saving throws. With 3/4 cover, we get a +5 to our armor class, also continuing the advantage on dexterity saving throws. With total cover, or some people call it full cover, you basically cannot be targeted by any attack or spell that requires direct line of sight. You cannot be seen, therefore you cannot be targeted by direct targeting as far as like a crossbow, a longbow, a spell that requires sight, of the target. That doesn't mean you can't get indirectly hit by things like fireball and so forth, but you cannot be directly attacked. I would say that it's probably ultimately up to the DM if the advantage on the dexterity saving throw is going to come into effect. Probably in most cases I would say yes, of course it's going to, but I could see how in some cases you wouldn't even need to make the dex save, so why would you have advantage on it? So that's going to be one of those things that maybe is handled by each table, but generally speaking those are the levels of cover. But let's look at how we can understand them a little better. What do they mean, and how can we kind of envision it in our games? Half cover is pretty simple, and this is the way I like to think of it. If you imagine either like a low wall or maybe a desk, like an old full desk where the whole front of it is wooden and it's this solid mass of, wood and so forth, or metal or whatever it happens to be, stone. You could hide behind that, and everything from, let's say, your waist or so down would be covered, yes? And not only that, you could imagine that above this desk, you could shoot a longbow or a short bow, you could cast your spells and so forth. So I like to think of half cover as being you're behind some cover, it's protecting part of your body, but you could still effectively, without any sort of disadvantage, let's say, you could effectively shoot a longbow or short bow. Okay, so you could peek out from behind a door frame or around the corner of a wall or something like that. That might work too, where part of your body is still behind a solid object, but a good part of it, half or more, or let's say about half, of course, is reaching out so that you can do something. Okay, that's half cover. Again, I love the idea of a desk. The advantage, why advantage on saving throws? Well, you could still duck behind the desk, but you still see what's kind of coming at you and you're mostly exposed. 3/4 cover, now we could think of, if we imagine the desk, maybe it's like where just our head and shoulders are poking out. Maybe we want to reach out with a hand crossbow or cast a spell that just requires us to have a visual of our target. In this case, we would get the 3/4 cover benefit, and of course the +5 to AC benefit, advantage on your saving throws. It's the same thing with like leaning out behind a wall or a door or something. You imagine that it's going to cut across like that way. It's going to cut across most of your body. So again, just maybe one arm and part of your head are poking out from behind cover. And that's what we're going to call 3/4 cover. Full or total cover is when you're completely behind the wall. You're completely behind the desk. You're inside a sarcophagus, because you know what? That happens pretty frequently in Dungeons and Dragons from my experience and from what I've seen in other games that are being played out there. So you're inside of something, you are behind a closed door is a great way to think of full cover. You open a door, you see an opponent or stuff is happening in there, you get behind the door and close the door. Now you have full cover or total cover. So that's how we can imagine half, 3/4, and total cover. Again, the quick reference is think of a desk or a small wall or something. If you're visible from, let's call it your waist up, half cover. If you're visible from, let's call it your chest up, 3/4 cover. And if you can't be seen at all, you are in total cover. Total cover is really advantageous when spellcasters, or disadvantageous if you're the one casting the spell, but when spellcasters are trying to target you, if they can't see you, they can't cast their targeted spells at you. That's the benefit of total cover. And even with an archer, someone using a longbow, crossbow, what have you, if you can't see your opponent, you could still, you can't attack that opponent with, you can't attack that target with your ranged attack. Now there are some feats that circumvent some of that and allow you to ignore partial and total cover and so forth. However, in generally speaking, ain't gonna happen. One other way that cover is really important is with stealth, because in regards to stealth, we are required to get partial cover or total cover, or be lightly obscured or fully obscured in order to enact the hidden condition, in order to use our stealth ability. I didn't do a very good job of talking about stealth and surprise. I missed one or two little things like the different types of obscurity and that kind of thing, what's required for stealth. I also realized that it was pointed out to me, and I should have been more clear. In a surprise round, there's actually is no surprise round in 5e. When surprise happens, what happens is that whoever is surprised does not get to act. Once someone else acts, they can take reactions because they become aware of things going on, but they still cannot act within that first round if they're surprised. So I'm going to do a future video, I'm going to do more full, involved, and complete looks. I'm going to take a deeper dive into each of these, and I'm going to combine things where there's overlaps like stealth, surprise, and cover. I'm going to take a better, deeper look at all of those and combine them all together into one, maybe slightly longer and more in-depth and more hopefully exciting and interesting, fun, and so forth video. So stay tuned for that in this coming year as it unfolds, and we'll see what we can get into with those kind of topics. I also want to mention that I have started doing the TikTok thing. Like, I've started a TikTok account and made a couple posts. I'm trying to be much more silly and, I don't know, entertaining over there, I suppose, because is that what TikTok's about? I'm trying to figure it out. If you want to check it out, look me up. It's 1in20 DnD over on TikTok as well. You might find it entertaining. You'll definitely find one of these videos entertaining because there's all kinds of goodies about Dungeons and Dragons and RPG in them. I'll see you at a table someday, my friends. Keep rolling 20s until then. And remember, it's your game. Play your way.